Okay, girls, the other emails that I have received are about so I already did question 9, but question 10, 11, and 12. So I've decided that instead of doing those exercises for you, because I need you to practice and I can see your result to see if you have mastered this skill, I'm going to use different numbers, different examples. So maybe you saw me yesterday working with Alicia and Mia and Pepe. So what I'm going to do is, instead of posting the pictures of what we did, I'm going to do the videos live so you can see all the process and the working out of what we're doing. So more examples. So we're going to do another example here. So I'm going to call this one number 2. And we're going to find the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple of two numbers. I'm going to find 72 and 45. Wonderful. So the first thing that I need to do, if I'm going to find the highest common factor or the lowest common multiples, is to break down each number as a product of its prime numbers, prime factors. So how do we do that? 72, and I do my line, and remember that on this right side of the line, I'm only going to write prime numbers. So 72 divided by 2 is equal to 36. Divided by 2 is equal to 18. Divided by 2 is equal to 9. And divided by 3 is equal to 3. And divided by 3 is equal to 1. Beautiful. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 45. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. Divided by 3 is 3. Divided by 3 is 1. Beautiful. When I write that down, I'm going to write 72 as a product of its prime factors. In this case, I don't have to use index notation, okay? So I'm just going to list them. So I'm going to start with 72. So I'm going to start with 2 times these 2 times these 2 times 3 times 3. So I have only written down here horizontally the same thing that I have here. I'm just going to highlight what I have done. 2, 2, 2 is these 3 2's, and then 3, 3 are these 2 3's. Wonderful. Now I do the same one with 45. Now, when I'm doing with 45, I just want you to be careful with something. You're doing like a table here. So you're going to put underneath the ones that are common to the ones on top. So for example, here, I have a 5 and I have 2 3's in here that I have to write down and list down. So as I said, I recommend that you always start in numerical order. So I'm going to start with the 3's. Because I don't have a 2, I'm not going to write it underneath this 2. I'm going to go until I have these 3 here. So I'm going to write these 3. So I'm talking about these 3 here is these 3 here. And then I'm going to write these 3 here. I'm going to write it here underneath these 3. So I go and say times 3. And then times 5. Why at the end? Because I don't have any 2's in here, so I have to keep an order here. Why do I do that? Because now I can see very quickly which ones are common to both. So before I go into that, I just have done the step 1, that was to break down the 72 into its prime factors as a product of its prime factors, and the same I have done with the 45. Agree? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the ones that are common. So I know that this 3 and this 3 is common. You can say like these ones are common. And this 3 is common. Wonderful. So now, when I'm going to find the lowest common multiple, you have to do 2 things. You're going to select those factors that are common to both numbers, yes, but those ones that are common, you're going to select them only once. With the example, you're going to see what I mean with this. And these ones, I'm referring to the ones that I have here in green. But you're also going to select those factors that are not common. So, in other words, you're all selecting all the factors, but the ones that are common, you're selecting only once, okay? So what does it look like? When I'm finding the lowest common multiple of those two numbers, then I go and say, okay, I have to select the common ones only once and the ones that are common because I have to select everything. So I'm going to just be mindful with me. I'm going to go like horizontally here. So this 2 is not common. Do I have to write it down? Yes. So I write it down. Then this 2 is not common. Do I have to write it down? Yes. Now this 2 is not common. Do I have to write it down? Yes. Now this 3 is common. Do I have to write it? Yes, but only once. So I'm going to write it here in green so you see it. Only once. Now, times. These other 3, do I have to write it? Yes, but only once because it's common. And lastly, these 5 at the end, do I have to write it? Yes, because it's not common, and I have to write it down. And now I only have to multiply those numbers to find the lowest common multiple. Now, because multiplication is commutative, or you can rearrange the numbers and multiply it in any order that makes your operations easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2 times 3 is equal to 6. 2 times 3 is equal to 6. Agree? So what I have here, I have 6 times 6, and then times 2 times 5 is equal to 10. Oops, sorry, this number is looking very, what is happening here? I don't know what happened there. I'm just going to go down. So this 10, good. And then I get that 6 times 6 is equal to 36 times 10 is equal to 360. So that's my answer for my lowest common multiple. Wonderful. So we have done lowest common multiple. Now we're going to do our highest common factor. So to do our highest common factor, I'm going to do it here. Highest common factor. So to do the highest common factor, we only have to find the factors that are common to both numbers only once. Oh, sorry. I don't do this. I only have to. Annoying. Highest common factor. So I only have to do the common factors. And the common factors only once. And here I'm talking about those ones that we have highlighted in green. So that's all I have to do. So as you can see, we're only going to select these ones, common factors only once. So if I go here, I can see that the commons is these 3 and these 3. Agree? So I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to say highest common factor is equal to 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. And that's our answer. So the highest common factor of both numbers is 9. And the lowest common multiple is 360. In another video, I'll do another example.